Hi, I'm Joe, an HSP guide. Today, I'd like to talk about the types of people who are naturally compatible or a good fit for an HSP, a highly sensitive person. Because HSPs are more sensitive to everything, it can be hard for us to fit in with everyone. But on the flip side, that also means there are definitely people we can resonate with more seamlessly. So if you choose these types for your friends, your community, or your romantic partners, your relationships will improve drastically. So I hope you can take insights from today's video and keep reminding yourself of these points so you can build a social life that makes it easier to live. Number one is someone with a calm heart. Heart sounds a bit vague, but a calm-hearted person is, for example, someone who rarely gets angry over what people say. They have low communication cost, are highly approachable, and carries a gentle, smiling presence. The way they speak is unhurried and calm, and when they walk, their speed naturally feels comfortable for you. So in other words, their overall pace matches yours. I've had a close friend like this since my 20s. His mood is always stable and he's always kind of laid back, so I'm able to just relax around him. Why this type of person is good is simply because you don't get exhausted being with them. HSPs often try hard to please others. This is because they are afraid of being disliked. But if you're around people who are always smiling, calm, and speaks to you kindly, you don't get drained so much, so you feel safe enough to show your real self. Compared to non-HSPs, HSPs often feel deeply misunderstood in everyday life, which drives a strong longing to express themselves and be known for who they truly are. This is because they spend so much energy being considerate of others, they end up bottling up their own feelings inside. In moments like that, if there is somebody who is just calm and truly listens to you, that already is a rare presence who just accepts you as you are. So you feel like sharing anything with them and they will just hold space and listen to you. Since this is simply their default, they don't see it as a burden at all. In a connection like that, an HSP naturally wants to stay close with them in the long term, and from there, in some cases, they might even begin to envision them as a potential partner or even a spouse. So for an HSP, instead of somebody moody, it's better to surround yourself with people who have few emotional fluctuations. It helps to be with somebody who is always calm, carries a peaceful smile, and perhaps has a little endearingly spacey side to them. So being around people like that can be quite soothing. So consider this calm-heartedness in a person when you select your relationships. Number two is someone who understands the idea of I am me and you are you. They are people who can maintain a healthy boundary between their life and yours. I know this topic might sound a bit difficult. The reason these people are compatible with HSP is that they take in everything you say and listen to the very end without judging you. Many HSPs want to open up about their trait, that they are HSPs, but generally people reject what they don't understand. So most people will just dismiss it, telling you you're just being soft or you need to toughen up. And they usually don't try to understand. But someone who's thinking, I am me and you are you, will just say, I see. So there are sensitive people called HSPs. Interesting. So they don't reject you because their approach is to simply hear you out and accept your word as they are. So they're in a neutral state where they feel, I'm not an HSP, but you are. It's as simple as that. So they think you're sensitive, and that's fine. So in a way, this is a form of indirect validation actually. Because these people respect the boundary between themselves and others, HSPs feel like they can talk about anything. It's similar to being around somebody with a calm heart. HSPs are often used to having their feelings dismissed. This relates to the topic I discussed of opening up. But in relationships with parents, HSPs are often obedient children. And if you grow up with parents who dismiss everything you feel, telling you you're just overthinking or being too sensitive, then whenever you try to consult them, they will always deny your opinion and tell you That's not a good idea. You shouldn't do that. But on the other hand, if you talk to somebody who understands I am me and you are you, their baseline opinion is already, that's just how it is. They tell you just be yourself and keep going. And even if you do fail, they say, that's too bad. That must have been tough. So this is almost like therapy. Because the HSP feels seen and validated, they find the drive to grow from there. So in this way, these types become more than just understanding people. They become a catalyst for the HSP's growth. So someone who can separate themselves from others and simply holds space for you without denying you, I suggest you try to be with people like that in your life. Number 3 is an emotionally independent person. The definition of emotional independence can be a bit tricky, but simply put, it's somebody who leads their own life and is very clear and honest about what they want and what they don't. They also have a good sense of distance with others. If someone gets too close, they can honestly say, I need some space. The good thing about this independent type is that they are transparent, so it's easy to understand them. As a result, the time HSPs spend worrying about the other's reaction decreases. For example, HSPs tend to attract needy people. A needy person is somebody who is not independent, somebody who relies on others to soothe and validate their emotions. So for instance, when they feel restless and keep sighing, they wait for somebody to ask, "Are you okay? You seem sad." And only then do they realize, "Oh, I guess I was lonely and sad." This is similar to a child at a park, standing next to their parent without saying a word, but constantly tugging on their parent's sleeve. They don't say, "Pick me up," themselves. But the moment parent applies a label by saying, "Do you want a hug? You were lonely, weren't you?" the child finally then realizes it and bursts into tears. So this is what emotional dependency looks like. So why is an emotionally independent person better for an HSP? Since they have their own solid baseline, they don't intrude into your territory more than necessary. The truth is, HSPs can be a bit complex. We need our alone time, yet we easily feel lonely. It's easy to understand from a romantic perspective. If your partner is an emotionally secure person, you can share connection when you're feeling lonely, but still have your own space when you need to recharge. This is because they have their own things they want to do with their time too. So if you want to be alone, they'll just say, "Okay, I'll do my own thing then." So if you ask, "Can I have a bit of my own space?" they'll say, "Sure, I'll just do what I want to do during that time as well." And when you both want closeness, then you can always come back together. And when an emotionally secure person is nearby, the HSP is naturally influenced and starts wanting to become self-reliant too. That's why having a parent with firm opinions, someone who encourages you to stand on your own feet, actually helps an HSP grow. So surrounding yourself with these emotionally independent people is highly beneficial for your life. Number 4 is connecting with fellow HSPs. It's not always that simple, but between HSPs who both recognize they are HSPs, there's a mutual understanding of how their sensitivity works. So you understand what makes the other person drained emotionally, what they don't want you to do, and what makes them feel content. If the other person is calm and peaceful, it makes you feel at ease too. And even without forcing conversation, just sharing the same space makes you feel like you're not alone. Also, because you share the same temperament, you're both delicate. That's why there are many people who are soft-spoken and truly want to understand each other. So if you feel like you might get exhausted, you can easily agree beforehand, saying, "Let's just hang out for about 2 hours so we both don't get too tired." That's why being around another HSP feels light and pressure-free. However, when it comes to romance or marriage, because both are HSPs, you might end up over caring for each other and thinking too much and getting exhausted, so it can be a bit tricky. This is just to say that in general human relationships, HSPs can just let their guard down and breathe a bit easier. For example, if a shop is run by an HSP, I think another HSP can visit with less stress. like an independently owned cafe. Since HSPs are sensitive to stimuli, you can spend your time peacefully in a place where the owner is mindful of noise or visual clutter and keeps a comfortable distance when they're talking to you. However, the challenge is, in the offline world of our daily lives, no one walks around with their hands raised saying, "I'm an HSP." So it's hard to meet other HSPs. So for example, one way to meet is to post on social media saying, "I'm an HSP and I want to connect with other HSPs." So you can meet people through the algorithm and have a light chat. Also, in the comment section of my videos, there are HSPs liking each other's comments or having light interactions. So you can utilize resources like these and make connections with others. So I hope you can give it a try at your own comfortable pace. Finally, number 5 is someone who appreciates your sensitivity. Because HSPs have heightened sensitivity, they notice small changes and beauty in everyday life and reacts deeply to them. In other words, they have a rich inner world. They're kind of pure-hearted. For example, if an HSP is walking with some friends and finds a strange plant, they might get excited and say, "What is this? This is amazing." But most people don't think that deeply, so they might just give a flat, "Oh, nice," type of reaction. Or even if they do react, they might change the subject quickly because they are not that interested. When that happens, the HSP feels a bit left out. HSPs have high receptivity, so they are deeply moved by trivial things that non-HSPs don't notice. That's where the human disconnect often happens. Furthermore, if the HSP's perspective is dismissed as overthinking or "why are you so moved by that?" the HSP feels like there's something wrong with them and feels like, after all, there's no one that truly understands them. That's why having somebody nearby who says, "That's interesting," or "That's beautiful," someone who doesn't judge you but simply empathizes and purely enjoys things with you, makes it easier for you to express your sensitivity and makes your heart feel lighter. And towards these people, you naturally feel like you want to open up more about your feelings and thoughts. By expressing yourself, your nervous system actually receives a positive reward like dopamine and oxytocin, and you feel more relaxed in interactions. But here is a key point. Even if they enjoy it, if they are too hyper, teases you a bit too much, or expect a big reaction from you always, that becomes too much stimulation for the HSP. The point is to find somebody with a calm, neutral interest who says, "That's interesting how you look at it, tell me more." So it's a relationship where your unique perspective naturally brightens up their everyday life too. In this situation, the HSP no longer feels the need to hide their sensitivity and can express their true self. That turns into pure joy and life becomes vivid and they feel like they can actually breathe again. So if there's somebody around you who purely enjoys your sensitivity, they are truly precious. So I hope you value those relationships. That's all for today's talk about the types of people who are naturally compatible or a good fit for HSPs. I've talked about several points today, but looking around, were there people like this in your life? Even if you can't find or think of anybody right now, there's no need to rush. First, just slightly imagine if there might be anyone compatible in your daily life and just start by nurturing that small interest inside of you. Taking that small step will naturally bring you a sense of relief. So on this Sensipath channel, I provide detailed information like this tailored towards highly sensitive people, HSPs. I provide many tips on HSP and relationships as well, so please subscribe and make use of this channel. So that's it for today. This was Joe from Sensipath.